Welcome to the Millionaire Car Salesman.
Yeah, we know. So this is season 2 of the Millionaire Car Salesman podcast. And if you liked what we did last year, you're going to love this season. It's chock full of all types of interviews and just really, really fun situations. I put a couple of webinar replays. So like pretty much everything that you need is here on this season of the Millionaire Car Salesman podcast. So do us a favor and like the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, share the podcast.
Leave us a review.
Do whatever
please.
you got to do. Make sure that everyone and their coworker hears these podcasts because we believe it will absolutely change the industry. So I wanted to kick off the season with something a little bit different. I want to kick it off with the SVB story, right? This is Sean Bradley himself. I didn't do any editing to this. He was just on his way to see a client and driving there, he actually just recorded himself. So I just wanted you guys to get this raw and uncut. So without further ado, let's get started.
You see, this is for them haters. Doing this is for them haters. Them haters doing this. This is a public service announcement to all the haters of Sean Bradley. See, you ain't getting no money. Your bank account funny, boy. I said your tires stay flat while my foreign go vroom. See, you ain't getting no money. Your bank account funny, boy. I said your checkbook flat while my thing go.
Hey everybody, this is Sean B. Bradley, president of Dealer Synergy and the creator of the Millionaire Car Salesman Group. And I am the co-host of the Millionaire Car Salesman podcast with my main man, L.A. Williams, a.k.a. the Blind Phone Master. But today is a special day. I straight up hijacked the waves. I was like, you know what? Bam! I'm taking the mic. And today is a solo. Okay, I'm going to be speaking to you all today on this podcast, and I want to just kind of share with you a little bit of the SVB, of the Sean V. Bradley origin story, because people ask me all the time, damn, you be going hard as fuck, bro. Like, why do you go so hard? What drives you? What motivates you? And I think that, you know, I could give you a couple different answers, but I think the best way to really explain that, folks, is for you to go into my background, go into my past, and it should give you some insight. So let me just take you back. I was born in East Elmhurst, New York, in Queens, New York, right by LaGuardia Airport. Look, I remember like it was like literally right around the corner. When I was a kid, we used to run around, but that's a little bit further on. Let me just digress. So I was born in Queens to Wayne Bradley and Anna, Rodriguez. My father, Wayne, was just a scumbag, piece of shit, womanizer, woman beater, just scumbag. He was really never there. My mother and him were married. My mom got married when she was 17. She had me when she was 20. And I remember my mother telling me that when I was born, my father wasn't even there. He was out partying, getting fucked up with some other bitches and stuff. And he called and said, is it a boy or girl? My mother's like, a boy. And he hung up on her. And it didn't get better from there. So he was really never around. He was a deadbeat. He would make excuses. You ready for this? He would make excuses that the reason why he couldn't see me this week is, he just got a promotion and he was celebrating. I'm sorry, I'll come see you next week. Then, I would wait. Like, you ever see on TV, like the kids that wait, like really sad and pathetic for their dad at the door, they never show up? That was definitely me. And one time, I remember vividly, I stood there just waiting, and my mother told me, yeah, your dad got a new TV and he had to celebrate. So he got a new TV and he had to celebrate. That's why he wasn't able to come pick me up. So, I didn't know any better. I was young and I didn't understand, why he didn't want to be there. But I just remember it felt like shit, and that was that. So my next experience with a guy was my stepfather. My mother's choice of men went from bad to worse. She got hooked up with a guy named George Cruz. Hopefully he's dead and he's rotting in hell right now. So this guy was an ex-Marine, and he was fucking mentally disturbed. He was a psychopath. He used to torture me and my mother. Like, when I say torture, he used to torture us. He used to physically abuse me and my mother. He used to, I don't know if he was like, I don't know, just deranged or watched a lot of crazy movies, but you ever see like Rambo and they had those crazy Vietnamese torture things in Vietnam? I was way before my time, but he used to make us stand against the wall for hours, like with our hands and legs spread, clothes on, but like we were getting frisked, but we just stayed there for hours and it was exhausting. He would have us squat and with our palms facing up for hours. He would do other like physical postures just to fucking just like torture us for hours and hours, besides beating the shit out of us. He would not let my mother work. He, used to shoot her up with heroin, kept her like chained to the bed, like not all the time, but I guess when she was bad or whatever in his head. Yeah, can you believe that shit actually happened? Yeah, that's crazy real shit. Now, in addition to that, he used to just, I don't know, he used to like just fucking hit me, all the time. And I remember one time he said to, not to bring toys into bed when you go to sleep. And I'm fucking little. I'm like 4 or 5 years old or whatever it is. And I remember bringing a metal Tonka truck. You remember those metal Tonka trucks? Fuck you, Tonka. Could it be plastic? Because he saw it as it was going to get water in the middle of the night or something like that. And man, that dude beat the shit out of me with that metal Tonka truck. I'm talking about beat the shit out of me to the point where I was like, virtually, like unconscious, and my ears were black and blue. It was just nuts. And it got to the point where like he threatened to, kill me, kill my mother all the time. If she left, he'd kill me, he'd find us, blah, blah, blah. To the point where the NYPD, the New York Police Department, had to, with, their SWAT team, had to come in and actually like full gear do an extraction out of the house. Like my godmother, thank God, had, told the police what was going on and where we're at. And they came in, kicked in the door, and they literally drug us, they got us out of the house, arrested him. It was just fucking crazy. But my mother was terrified, and she never stayed in anywhere my whole life for longer than 3 years. And that was kind of rough. I never had any roots. And my mother wasn't any better. My mother was psychotic herself. She was bipolar. She was emotionally disturbed. She was fucking crazy. And so this shit just added to her craziness, which made it even crazier. And I was the only child. My mother, 1 minute would be, I love you, I love you, love you. Like she's like, the greatest mom in the world. And then the next minute she was like, fucking mommy dearest, I hate you. I wish you were dead. I wish you were never born. You were like, and I grew up like that, man. Like, I grew up with that whole crazy back and forth. I hate you. I love you. I hate you. I love you. Die, 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 die. Oh, baby, come here. I mean, fucking crazy shit. And so, yeah, that shit fucking fucked me up. You know what I mean? That shit messed me up. It really did. It made me, like I was angry and I was like depressed. I was sad. I was fucking terrified. And so I would act out. I would break shit. I would, destroy everything. I would start little fires in the house. I would do things to just act out. I had no friends. Everybody hated me. I remember one time I had the neighborhood chase me, because I just fucking annoyed a bunch of people or whatever. And, it was what it was. So that's like my early childhood. Then, I kept on getting in trouble. My mother didn't want to deal with me and couldn't deal with me. So she put me into a state-run boys' home called Bonnie Bray in Millington, New Jersey. And I was in that place. I was supposed to be there for like a year and a half. I wound up doing 3 years, man. From 12 to 15 years old, I was in a boys' home. And it's crazy. I had actually saved letters that I wrote to my mother when I was 12 years old. I'm 43 years old, people. And when I read these letters like a couple years ago, like it brought tears in my eyes because I was reading a 12-year-old Sean Bradley, like, begging my mother, Mom, please, bring me home. And she didn't give a fuck. She just left me there, because, she could have signed me out. She could have did whatever, but she left me in that place for 3 fucking years. And, but it was good because I didn't have any male role models. So I would have grown up like a little punk, or like with a woman. And my mother had a girlfriend. Not that's why I was going to be punk, but they were like basically soft, and they were feminine and shit like that. And so I didn't have any male role models and stuff around me. So I was in a group home with nothing but boys, good and bad. You know what I mean? At first I was getting my ass whooped, and then I was like, oh hell no, you know what I mean? And then I learned to fight back. And then I also learned how to be really smart and just manipulate the shit out of people and, basically to get what I want. You know what I mean? Like, so I didn't have to fight. I didn't have to do this. I would just turn around and just was on some, let me run shit type stuff, even at like 13 years old. Anyway, and I just learned a bunch of legal stuff. I was always getting in trouble, you know what I mean? And remember, I'm 12 now, so let me digress, back to 6 years old just for a second. At 6 years old, when you were in first grade, we, at least in New York, we were getting these forms to sell candy for school. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. And I would save them, just for whatever reason. And then when I needed money, I would just take a bus or train or walk my ass over to the next, town over. And I would just start selling all this candy door to door. But there was no candy. It was just a brochure, but I would collect the dollars. Sometimes people gave me checks, but I just threw the checks away. And I just kept the cash. And for 6, 7, 8 years old, as my hustle, it's funny now. It's bad. I would never condone stuff like that. But I was a little fucking hoodlum. And I've been hustling since I was 6 years old. 6 years old, because I didn't have shit. Growing up extremely poor in the ghetto, in the project type environment, that type of shit, and it was bad. So if I wanted shit, I either had to hustle for it and figure out how to make money, or just rob that shit. And that's the way I grew up. I'm not proud of it. I don't condone it. I'm just trying to give you insight the way that I grew up. And then now back to 12 years old in the boys' home. Man, I learned a lot of different things for hustling, and a lot of different cons, a lot of different illegal activity, because that's what happens when you're in these facilities. People think there's rehabilitation. That's bullshit. You know what I mean? It is bullshit. It is straight punishment. Call it what it is. It is what it is. And when you put a lot of other people that are angry, violent, hustlers, con artists, thieves, hoodlums together, what the fuck do you think's going to happen? They're going to sing Kumbaya and get out? No. Maybe a small percentage of them do. 1%, 5%. The majority of them fester and manifest and percolate and just, they just synergize, if you will, right? So now I get out when I am, 15 years old, and I spent 2 years bouncing from school to school because I was in trouble. I went through special schools for emotionally disturbed people and for angry kids, or that type of stuff. But thank God I wound up, for my senior year in high school, I went to a regular high school, and I graduated. I don't even know how, because my grades suck, because I cut school. I was in a lot of trouble, but I was smart, so I knew what to do just so I could get by, so I could just pass my classes or what have you, get whatever credits, but I didn't give a fuck, because what I was doing, in my off time, I was involved in a lot of illegal activity, from selling drugs to, selling bulletproof vests to crack dealers in Queens, to counterfeit money, to, clone cell phones, and everything in between, man. I just was hustling shit that you see on TV, because even though I was living in New Jersey at that time, I would still, my father lived in Brooklyn, and I would go back and forth. And that side of the family, it was just very easy to say to get drugs and hooked up with people and this, that, and the other thing. But what really started going crazy was when I was around 16, 17. I got into the rave scene, and I was really deep into skateboarding and, the whole underground techno house scene. But in New York, there was two types of rave scene, New York, New Jersey. There was what we call the candy ravers that had the fucking pacifiers and the little rainbow bright stuff. That wasn't me. And then you had the real, what we call the hardcore ravers, that were just really into the ecstasy scene and the K, and into the techno and the dancing, and just just really kind of how the hippies were in the 60s, but definitely way darker and way harder, and that's what, the New York City underground, rave scene was. And I kind of took a fish to water, man, and I got hooked up with lots and lots and lots of bad people and bad situations. I made some really poor choices as a kid. And when I was a senior in high school, I had enlisted in the Army, and I was happy. I had to get my mother to sign off for me. at 17 years old, I joined the Army, and I was supposed to, like, I graduated when I was still only 17 years old. I turned 18 in August, okay? So I graduated in June. I graduated high school my senior year when I was 17 years old, so I had to get my mother's permission. So I get her permission, and I enlisted in the Army, but, like, I was with a bunch of ravers and skateboarders. I used to skate, and we were in an abandoned warehouse in Aberdeen, New Jersey, when we had a bonfire going, and one of my dipshit friends kicked the bonfire by accident and burnt the fucking thing down. Again, thank God it was abandoned. Nobody got hurt. But obviously the police came in. They scooped up one of the kids. They flipped on everybody, snitched on everybody. That was that. So long story short, right? It's not like it is on TV, people, where if you get arrested and the judge is like, well, you could go to the jail, go to the Army. That shit was like maybe in the 50s or something. That didn't happen in the 90s when I got arrested. The military was like, we ain't taking you. You've got any pending cases, you lose your ship date. So I was really trying to just like get out of the craziness of my life and change my life and go into the Army. It didn't work though, because my lawyers were trying to fight for me. Said, "Listen, Your Honor, he had a really fucked up life. He's trying to turn his life around, and nobody got hurt. And so, by the grace of God, they dropped all the charges. But I lost my ship date. So now I'm fucking homeless. I'm homeless because I didn't plan on anything other than going into the Army and going to Fort Benning, Georgia for basic training. So I quickly applied to two universities, Rider University and Rutgers University. I got into both of them, thank God. But I went to Rider because I got better, like student aids and stuff. And man, I gotta tell you, I had whatever grants, whatever, loans, work study I had, because I was fucking broke. I was penniless, and I didn't know what to do. So I went to Rider University, and when I was in Rider remember, I'm still 17 years old, but now 18 years old when I start Rider. During this time, I was deep involved in the underground scene, in the New York scene, with clubs and this, that, and the other thing. And I was making money like crazy, but I was spending it all because of the scene I'm talking about. Now, here's where it gets crazy. So I went from being like broke to making a ton of money and having money, but not saving it at all, okay? So let me show you how crazy my life was. I went from like almost being penniless when I was about to ship out, and then within a couple months, it was tens of thousands of dollars, and that year, it was hundreds of thousands of dollars. I was doing VIP parties for models and celebrities in New York City at like the Limelight, the Tunnel, major stuff. And I remember being 18 years old and on a Saturday night making $4,000 or $5,000 in a night, just, with ecstasy in these nightclubs. It was insane. And there was people like, a guy named Anthony Alagona and Billy Van Vaquitas. These were like my roll dogs, and they used to, work with me and work for me. And I remember Anthony and I tell stories that I would be in the clubs and I would have money falling out of my pockets, and Anthony would be coming up behind me and picking it up because I was fucked up. I was wrecked on ecstasy and K and all these crazy designer drugs, and it was just nuts, man. And so in a 3-day weekend, a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we usually didn't work, but if we did like Palladium or something like that, at least for, let's just say Friday, Saturday. So a Friday, Saturday would bring in an easy, I'd say on the worst case, $4,000 to $8,000. And if I did a 3-day weekend, right, I could do like $15,000 in a weekend. It was fucking crazy. And that was just retail, you know what I mean? Like, and when we did the wholesale stuff, because we were bringing in 10,000 pills of ecstasy from Europe, and it was insane. We had flight routes. We'd have people flying from New York JFK to Amsterdam but not directly to Holland. They would fly into either Belgium, or they fly into France and take a train, into Holland, and then they would exit out. So we had different flight routes. So, again, we thought that we were slicker than the world. Remember, I'm 18 years old, fucking just club kid. And we were doing shit like that. So while we were doing all this stuff, man, I was just hustling everything I could get my hands on. Everything from cloned cell phones to, bulletproof vest to counterfeit money. And that's what got me in trouble. Is I was dealing with some serious people in New York, and we'll leave it at that. And I had a lot of counterfeit 50s. And when I was in New Jersey, now here I am an 18-year-old young guy, look young as hell. I got bleach blonde hair, long, sculpted, I was a club kid. I had, piercings and all sorts of stuff. You guys would never believe Sean Bradley back in the day, but that was really what I was like back then, major club kid. And I'm in a mall, and and I'm thinking, because I'm in like a Brioni expensive suit, I'm thinking I'm like, but I didn't realize like I was all ecstasy out my face. Even though I look very expensive, I also look like I'm on drugs or something. And I have all these bags, and this one lady used the pen to, check if it was counterfeit money. And of course it was, but I tried to play it off and just talk it off because I could, talk myself in and out of things, I thought. But here's where it got crazy is that, when the security came, they called security, they looked at all the other bags I had. If she looked at the pen, used the pen at first, none of this shit would have happened, the craziness that I got caught up in. But since it was like the end of my shopping spree, yep, every one of the bags I had, they went back to the stores and had the same exact 50 with the same exact serial number, and boom. So the security called the police. There is no state charge for counterfeit money. So protocol is that once, the local police, identify that there is counterfeit money, they have to notify the Secret Service, which is the Treasury Department. So here I am, 18 years old, in police custody, and Secret Service agent comes in and, comes and arrests me. Now, there's a lot of shit that got involved with my case. It got crazy. It got in between the Secret Service, the DEA. There's multiple movies on my case and on me. And then there's also 3 different full-blown books on my case. I have the largest case in United States history for ecstasy, and it's pretty major. I'm not going to get into that all on this podcast because I only, in my entire life at 43 years old, I've only done one interview ever, and that was with the Village Voice with Bill Bastone back in 1996. And since then, I've had all these producers, all these directors come at me and ask me for, my version of what happened because, I was a major part of this federal case. But, I refused. Long story short, I wound up catching serious, federal charges. I wound up getting about, 10 years. Thank God, not consecutively, but concurrently. So they took my state case, they took my federal cases, and they put them all together. So I had like 3 years, and like 4 years or whatever it was, but it was all round up at once, and I wound up doing 3 straight years. So I got locked up in May of 1996, and I came home in May of 1999. Okay, so think about that. I came home in May 1999. So now here I am. I went to prison when I was 19 years old. I come home 22 years old. So at age 22, I already lost 6 years of my life. I have been through so much trauma, from violence, from abuse to neglect to poverty and man, I got books to write about my story, so that's why I don't want to get deep into this because it was just some crazy shit. But I'll just say this though, from, Italian organized crime, Russian organized crime, to gang shit, serious gang shit, race wars in prison, being around people that have been murdered, been with, friends and brothers that have got life plus 30 on RICO cases. You know what I mean? Like, that's my life. The shit that these kids hear on these rap videos or these movies and stuff is how I grew up. I mean, it is insane to me, when I think about it, how I'm still alive, how I'm not dead from being murdered or, being in the wrong place, wrong time, or from an overdose or anything like this, and this is only by age 22. So when throughout my whole life, though, let me digress here, is that I just wanted more. I wanted better. And I'm not making any excuses, people, okay? Because you don't ever hear me talking about this stuff. You don't, but I just want to let you know is I didn't know any other way. You know what I mean? Like, from growing up, I was in that environment. That was it. I had no positivity. I had no role models. Nobody around me was successful except for drug dealers, pimps, and gangsters. That was it. That's all I had, growing up. Where am I going to find positivity? You know what I mean? In the fucking streets of New York, in boys' homes, in prisons. Where? Nowhere. You know what I mean? Nothing around me was happiness. It was fucking misery. It was survival. It was, how can I fucking get through the next day? You know what I'm saying? And I know people are listening to this shit can relate to me. Some of you, and maybe most of you can't, but I know there's people listening to me that are like, yes, because I've met you on my journeys in the automotive industry. You could tell when people have been through shit, just like if you were in the military, you've been through combat, you could turn around and tell another combat soldier just by the way they look and shit, because you've got that look. And I look at people when I'm at these conferences and I could say that person's been through some shit. Why? Because I've been through some shit. But the whole time, I never gave up. I'll tell you one story which is true, which I only talked about a couple times, okay? When I was in federal prison, I was in MCC Manhattan. That's where they, Epstein just killed himself, supposedly. That's where, that's New York City. That's the Southern District. My case was in the Eastern District, but, you change, prisons for pretrial here and there. And I never forget, I was actually in AdSeg, which is 9 South. So people that know what I'm talking about, they're like, yo, he's dropping some real shit. So I was in 9 South at MCC, federal pretrial. And, I went from living a lavish lifestyle, because I was running VIP parties in New York City. I was doing all sorts of other crazy shit. That's for another book. And all of a sudden, boom, I'm in federal prison. And at one point, I decided that I was going to kill myself. I thought, you know what? I'm fucking 19 years old. I'm looking at decades in prison, I thought, and I don't want to live like this. So I was about to just fucking hang up. And I remember, getting my orange jumpsuit, because in MCC you have jumpsuits, and I remember tying it on the bed, and I was looking at it. And, I was really sitting there contemplating that shit. But what was crazy to me is that who I was with. I was in, federal prison in Manhattan in 1996 with the first World Trade Center bomber, like a fucking terrorist, people. Think about that for a second. I'm here for ecstasy and nightclubs and shit like that. And the United States government puts me in the same prison, in the same cell as one of these fucking people that blew up the World Trade Center. I'm 19 years old, and again, you don't get your own cell even when you're in the hole. Sometimes you have to, share your cell with other people that are in segregation or what have you. And so, long story short, I can't express to you what clicked in my mind, but I thought, what, if this is the worst that the United States government could do to me, is put me in the same fucking place, the same fucking dungeon as they could put this dude that blew up the World Trade Center. Fuck it, let's run it. I could do this. And that was it, and I'm not going to say prison was easy. Sometimes it was easy. Sometimes it was hard, Sometimes in prison I laughed and had a great fucking time, Again, as crazy as that sounds, but think about it, 3 straight years, It's not, you're not crying in your cell and miserable, and again, it was the feds. So I wasn't in like a maximum security prison. Once I got out of pretrial is definitely maximum security prison, because it's pretrial. But once I went through, pretrial, I went through a medium security prison at Allenwood Penitentiary, and then I was at a low security in Fort Dix federal prison. So again, there was tennis, it wasn't like a complete cakewalk, but at times I didn't even have cells, I had a dorm. And I'm not glorifying or minimizing prison. I'm just trying to I don't want to give a false narrative and feel like I was in in a maximum security fucking death row cell, because I wasn't, but it was trauma regardless on multiple different levels. It was just crazy. So anyway, back to the story here is that I just never gave up. Even when I thought about it, I didn't give up, and I wanted more. And I remember being in prison, talking to my family, say, you know what, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it. I had magnanimous plans. Since I was a kid, I wanted more. I would tell people as a kid, I would tell people in prison, I would tell people when I came home from prison, I'm destined for greatness. I'm going to do something great. I'm going to be somebody. I am going to, get past all this stuff. And people would fucking think I was crazy. Crazy. Man, you're locked up in federal prison. You got a pot to piss in. Da-da-da-da. You ain't going to be shit. I'm like, all right, watch. So fast forward now. I come home from prison, and for a good couple minutes, I was excited. Now, it was probably like, a couple weeks. I was excited after doing 3 straight years. Man, I was happy to be home. You know what my first job was? I was working at Food Town as a deli boy, and I was happy as hell. It was like I got like a Wall Street job. I was like, yeah, baby. I'm slinging ham. I'm slinging cheese. What's up? But then that shit wore off because I was with my friend, Billy. And Billy was just a straight, savage, but he was like my brother, you know what I mean? Like when I came home, I didn't move in with my mom because she was crazy as fuck, and she just wasn't. It was the right thing for a 22-year-old young man. So I moved in with him, and he lived in a 1-bedroom, actually a studio apartment at that time in Keansburg, but it was his. But he was just straight like slanging, hustling, doing stuff. And here I am going to Food Town, slinging ham and cheese and deli meat. And this dude doesn't leave his house. He's eating cereal, and there's girls coming and going because he's, selling drugs and stuff. And I'm like, after like, I don't know, a month. So I came home in May. So by June, I'm like, man, this is bullshit. So I'm like, why am I going there making like $7 an hour, whatever the hell I was making, and this dude's making what I'm making in a week, at least in a day, right? From his apartment, and and having fun, doing it. And so I decided to go back to New York and re-up. And so after a month of being home, after 3 years, I couldn't take this shit no more and being broke. I went to Brooklyn and I re-upped, and that was it. I turned out the neighborhood that I was in Jersey. I was running crazy shit. So at 22 years old, I got back to hustling, and I had a Cumberland Farms in town, like on lock. It was crazy, the operation I had. I had people coming through the milk. You open up the glass door, getting milk, but you're getting pills, you're getting, shit like that, boom, boom, boom. It was just crazy. And then I can't make this up. I don't know. Like, I do have faith, even though I have a potty mouth and, I don't talk about it a lot, but I believe that there is a God. Personally, I believe that there's a God. And I don't know if it was God or his universe or dumb luck or whatever, but I just felt that I just got to stop this shit. I just got to stop, or I'm going to go back to where it was. And let me just, pause on the story to just go and just give a fact. What was crazy is that I found out afterwards that the local police and everything just started an investigation on me. They didn't have anything on me, thank God. But if I hadn't stopped that when I did, I would have went back to jail, and I was on federal, it's called it's called supervised release, which is like the federal version of state parole, but in feds they don't have parole, they have supervised release. So anyway, I would have gone back for 5 more years, which is crazy because I only did 3, but I had 5 years of supervised release, and if I violated, they would have put me back for the whole 5. So I was lucky. I remember, all I had on me was $1,000 cash, a Walkman, and a backpack. And I looked in the newspaper and I looked, Red Bank is a really, really popular neighborhood in New Jersey. It is a very affluent, very, very, it's a it place. It's small as hell, but for like a block or two, it's like New York City almost. It is beautiful. It is fun. It is awesome. And so I wanted to live in Red Bank, and it's so funny. The one thing I did learn from prison, the one fucking thing I learned from prison is people, places, and things. They said, if you want to change your life, change the people you surround yourself with, the places that you go or hang out, and the things that you do. People, places, and things. So I said, all right, I need to get the fuck away from all these people. And so I was going to go and do something, different. So I went to Red Bank, but I got finagled. I was looking to rent a room in, you can rent rooms and shit with people. You get a roommate and stuff. Turns out it wasn't even a room. It was a couch. I rented a couch for $500 a month. But yeah, location, people. I was in Red Bank, New Jersey, and that shit was butter. It was awesome. I was right on Main Street. It was amazing. And I worked at a diner. I worked at the Broadway Diner, which is a famous diner. They had movies there. They had documentaries there. It's no longer there. And I met my first wife there, and she's my first child, my daughter, Kalina's mother. Her name is Sharon. She was a waitress, and fell in love and got married really soon. And what I realized being older is that I was more in love with the life of a normal person, with a wife and a family and a home, and because I never had that. I had no business, getting married to that woman, and we were toxic. We lasted 2 years and ended in like just miserable ending, and part of it was, she wouldn't support what I was trying to do. When I was working at the dealership, which I'll get back to the story in a second. Let me go back. So after I got fired from being a waiter because I sucked at it. And my friend Billy, the hustler, says to me, the other drug dealer says to me, let me put you onto car sales, man. You should sell cars. Man, I don't know about to sell cars. Can you imagine that? So Billy Van Vakitis is the one that suggested I sell cars. So I was like, all right, I'll try this. And here's my original thought was, you know what? I'm going to try selling cars. But if that shit don't work, you know what? I could always go back to hustling. I could always go back to what I know, because I know how to make money. No matter what, I always knew how to make money since I was 6 years old. And I was making hundreds of thousands of dollars as a kid. You know what I'm saying? So again, if this shit don't work out, but you know what? It did. First month, salesman of the month, salesman of the year. I was, averaging 30 cars. 30 cars. My first full year in the automotive industry, I was averaging 30 cars a month, and I was salesman of the year. It was crazy. Top month was 33 units. And my highest gross was about 10 grand on a 99 Catera. I got into the car industry in 1999, so that was 21 years ago. And after a short amount of time, I became a manager, and I, basically took an internet department that was doing 25, 30 cars a month to 110 units. Man, I was pushing 110 units back in 2001. That is 19 years ago today. And there's dealers right now that I work with that don't even get 50 cars a month out of their internet department. So for me to be able to do 110 cars out of my internet department or real internet department back 19 years ago is fucking surreal. It is like legendary stuff that I was doing. And it's just because of my mentality. It's just that hustle mentality. I outworked everybody. You know what I mean? Like when I was there, I was always on the phones. I was always pounding the phones. I was always trying to put a deal together. I was, always finagling, and I just never stopped. My work ethic was crazy. It wasn't like I, went to work and then stopped and just did all this other stuff. Like I was trying to hustle and get that money 24/7 when I was selling cars, and there's times I want to just be clear, since we're just going through the origin stuff, that when I was selling cars, man, I was going through a divorce. I was going through different things. I'll never forget, I just got a Lexus, and, I think the dealership opened me up that I worked at. It is what it is. I was paying like $700 on a Lexus. And the crazy part is that my ex-wife and I had split up, but we didn't get a divorce, and I was still paying child support. I was still paying, all of this type of, support stuff, but she wasn't. I was paying like the insurance and stuff, but she wasn't paying the insurance. So when I got into an accident with the Lexus, they totaled it, but I apparently had no insurance because she hadn't paid the insurance bill. So, I mean, folks, there's times, throughout my life that I've been hungry, that I didn't have any food in the house. That's happened to me when I was a kid. That happened to me, when I was in prison. That happened to me when I was selling cars. I remember, eating, cans of tuna fish, or eating, ramen noodles, because I didn't have any money. Like it comes and it goes, but I always knew how to make money, and I always knew that it'll be better. I just need to focus. I need to hustle. I need to focus. I need to hustle. And I never let things get to me. I never let anything stand in my way. I never let the fact that, that I was, I had such a traumatic life. I never played the victim. Like, the world owes me because I was tortured as a fucking kid. You know what I mean? I didn't feel like the world owed me because my dad wasn't there. I didn't feel like the world owed me because my mom used to, fucking lock me in a closet and say she wishes that I died. I didn't feel like the world owed me because I had to go to a boys' home for 3 years of my life. I didn't, feel like woe is me. Like I was in prison for 3 years. Oh, I can't get a job. I'm an ex-convict. You know what I mean? Like, when you start putting labels on yourself and you start limiting yourself, it's a shame, because, you are what you believe you are. If you believe you're a piece of shit, then you're a piece of shit, and the world's going to perceive you as a piece of shit. If you, are worried that, oh, I'm an ex-convict, I'll never get a job, then you're right. You are an ex-con, and you'll never get a job because you're not worthy of one. If you play the victim, you will be the victim. You'll be the martyr for your entire life. And I was damned that was going to be me. I was destined for success. And so, and guys, this is just me paraphrasing right here on a podcast. As I'm driving to work to a dealership right now, I'm sharing this. And I can't even make this up. Like if you see it, I'm in my cute little Maserati Levante Grand Sport S. I'm driving in the rain right now to a multi-million-dollar client as I recount this stuff. And I'm just trying to paraphrase, because, how do you pack in 20 years, 22 years of pain, violence, suffering, aggravation, disappointment into, where we go, in 41 minutes? And that's all I'm able to do is 22 years in 41 minutes is what you get so far. But I want you to understand where I come from. Is I wanted it better than other people did, because of where I came from and the way that I grew up. And then it changed. Then when my daughter was born, my daughter is 19 years old right now. So she was born in 2000. All right. So, something else started to change. It's like I fell in love with this little girl. And so me and her mother battled. When I say battled, we battled in court, battled, every which way we battled, right? And it was bad. But this little girl was my salvation. I loved her with every ounce of me. I never missed a weekend. I never made an excuse. I always held it down, even when her mother was crazy and, we were fully at DEFCON 3 war, right, with the nuclear button about to be pressed. Even when I hated her mother the most and her mother hated me the most, if her mother came to me and said, Sean, I need this, I need that, she still got it. It was just crazy. It was like almost like a timeout, white flag, and I always hold it down because I never had that. And I swore to myself I would never, ever do the stuff that my parents did to my kids. And don't get me wrong, I was far from perfect, and I made a lot of mistakes, and I made different mistakes. You know what? But I was always there. And anybody that knows me, if you're listening to this podcast, chances are you remember my group. Chances are we're friends on social media somewhere, and you could tell the things that are important to me because you see every day for decades that I've been, publishing content online, including videos for the last like 12, 13 years, is that folks telling you that family is the most important thing to me because I didn't have that. And part of my mistakes with my girls, because they're older than my boys are getting way better, way easier, is that, I'm learning how to be a parent. All the stupid mistakes I did with my daughters and bad choices, etc., I've now corrected, and I'm not doing nearly as much or at all with my younger kids because our two girls have moved out. One is going to be 21 and one just turned 19. So again, I'm just kind of letting you know that my motivation changed. So it wasn't just at this point that I wanted more. I wanted to do more, be more, and achieve more. Now I had another human being that I was responsible for, and I remember what it was like not having my dad. I remember what it was like not having nice things. I remember, remember all the pain and all the suffering, and it just motivated me more to work fucking hard, to take that extra up, to make that extra phone call, to be creative, to go and show vehicles off-site to doctors. I remember bringing Lincoln Navigators to my ex-wife's OGBYN and selling vehicles, remotely and doing off-site deliveries, off-site stuff. Man, I'm talking about I was doing this shit, 18, 20 years ago. I was doing off-site presentations. I was doing sight unseen appraisals of trades. Man, I was doing all that shit way back when. All the stuff I'm kicking you guys now, I was doing that for real. Do you understand me? And so, but I'm trying to give you the psychology behind it. And then as I'm going through my journey, then oh my gosh, I start to meet people. I start to meet real civilized people. I meet educated people. I meet managers. I meet executives. I meet people that aren't gangsters. They're not hoodlums. They're not, hustlers. They're not, engaged in illegal activity. And I start to learn from them, and I soak it up. And then I'm reading and I'm studying. I'm reading. I'm going through all the training I can get my hands on in the automotive industry. I'm watching, all the VHS tapes. Yeah, back then it was all VHS tapes from Verdi and Stuker and whatnot back then. Teledynamics, Paul Cummings. I went through all that stuff. I was reading books like, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, The Millionaire Next Door. I was reading Who Moved My Cheese. I was reading all those types of books, Dale Carnegie, and it really made an impact on me. Then I started, for different reasons, I had to for my job, learning like technology stuff, HTML. So I started learning how to code in HTML, how to write HTML, how to use dynamic HTML, Java Boutique, Java. Then I started learning how to use editors like Front Page 2000 first, then Dreamweaver. I tried to learn Flash. I never got Flash at all. I was way above my head. I couldn't ever get it. And, I went through Toastmasters, and then, eventually Franklin Covey, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, the National Speakers Association, the CSP, the $1 Million Speakers Group. And then it's just that I'm constantly, learning and educating and reading. And how did I educate? By experience, by surrounding myself with subject matter experts and talking to them, interviewing them, interrogating them, not really, you know what I mean? Just listening to them, by attending workshops, attending conferences in and out of the automotive industry, reading articles, reading books, watching videos, watching YouTube, blogs, industry blogs in and out of the automotive industry. I was just a sponge, just trying to soak up as much information as possible. and try to surround myself with as many different people as possible. And I've had over the years different coaches and different mentors. So let me just start right here by going through some resources. Some of the books that really inspired me and motivate me throughout my life, okay, including in prison, was Niccolo Machiavelli, The Prince, Sun Tzu, The Art of War, Miyamoto Musashi, The Book of Five Rings, Bruce Lee, The Tao of Jeet Kune Do, The 48 Laws of Power. Again, some of the things that you guys might be more familiar with, I mentioned before, I'm going to repeat them, is Who Moved My Cheese, From Good to Great, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, The Millionaire Next Door, of course, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, The Secret. And there's other books. They're industry books that I thought were really important to me. But those are like the big books that had an impact on me. Now, as far as like philosophies or beliefs, here's some things I believe. I truly believe in the laws of attraction and manifestation. I believe in it. That's from Rhonda Byrne, the book, The Secret, and then Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, was actually wrote it first, so Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, and then Rhonda Byrne's The Secret. These are amazing resources that really teach the fact that things have to be created twice, first mentally and then physically. What you visualize will materialize. What you focus on, what you manifest will materialize. So if you're focusing on anger and rage and disappointment or hurt or fear, that's what your life is going to be. But if you focus on gratitude and happiness, if you focus on, on prosperity and synergy, for example, let me just take this moment right here in this podcast to say this. I am very grateful. I'm very thankful for everything that happened, for every kick to the face, literally and metaphorically, for all the years I lost. It helped make me the man I am today. I would not want to do it all again, but I would do it all again without a blink of an eye. I would not change one thing in my life, because if I did, I might not have my queen, my wife, Karen. I might not have my 4 beautiful and healthy, thank God, children. Do you see what I'm saying? So I am eternally and spiritually grateful for everything that I have, everything good and everything bad. Because when you look at the travesty that just happened with somebody like Kobe Bryant, and again, I hate saying and, Gigi, and 7 other people, because they're more than just the other people, but there's like 9 people that lost their lives. But I didn't know those other people. I don't really know their names, but I've known Kobe Bryant, of him, and seen him, in the media for 20 years now. And so that's my point. We don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, we have no idea. Look at Steve Jobs, multi-billionaire, died in his 50s. It's horrific. Life is so short. We're here for a blink. It is very, very important that while we're here, we focus on making this now the best that it could ever be, because we're only here for it feels like a nanosecond in retrospect of time in general. I mean, think about how long the Earth has been in existence, or how long humans have been on this planet, versus what the average life expectancy is. The average life expectancy is only 76 summers. Think about that. The average human only gets to see 76 summers. And that shit's crazy, because I just saw my 43rd summer. That is scary when I want to think about it, but it also motivates me for the philosophy that I have today. So let me repeat that, is that I'm grateful. I'm grateful for my wife. I can't express to you how lucky I am that I met her. And I don't believe that it's really luck. I think that, I projected and manifested my ultimate dream girl. I say she's my dream girl because if I could build her like on weird science on a computer, from feature by feature, attribute by attribute, detail by detail, it would come out to Karen Bradley. and she's just an amazing human being on so many different levels. So I'm so grateful for her. I'm grateful for my children. I'm grateful for my girls, for Tiana, for Kalina. I'm grateful for my boys, for little Sean and for Xander. I'm grateful for my family. I'm also grateful for my Aunt Shiki and my Uncle Joey. They're like the mom and dad I wish I had. They're my aunt and my uncle, but they're like a mom and dad to me, and they're like what a mom and dad should be, to somebody. They've been there for forever for me. I'm so grateful for my grandmother. She, Sarah Rodriguez, I dedicated my first book, Googleopoly, to her. And she was the person that loved me more than anybody else in this world, and who I love more than anybody else in this world. And she passed away at age 79 when I was 17 years old in, January 1994. And so, I'm grateful for her. I'm grateful for my extended family, especially my wife's side of the family I've been really close with. My mother-in-law, my father-in-law, my brother-in-law, my sister-in-law, all my nieces and all my nephews and all those things, that come with being married, which they're not things, but like I'm just saying, like the coolness is that they're not my blood, but they're like my blood now. Like I've been with them for 13 years and, we are family. And I'm really grateful for that. I'm grateful for my friends. I've got some really, really, really close friends, like Mark Gayad, Mark and Megan, are very close friends of mine decades. Billy, Franca, L.A. Williams, Naima, and some of these people work with me in our company and their team members, but they're family first. And so I'm eternally grateful for my family. I'm grateful for my health. I'm healthy. I need to take better care of myself, but for all intents and purposes, I'm a 43-year-old healthy man, and I'm very grateful for that. I'm grateful for my incredible clients, because without them, I would not be able to do the things that I do and live the life that I live and be able to help as many people as I do if it wasn't for, my amazing clients. And I just have such profound appreciation. I could take another hour of this podcast to just thank every person individually, which I can't, but I just want to kind of show you it's important to be grateful. It's also important to know that I don't know everything. It's so great if you ever studied Socrates, which I'm well read. Socrates was brilliant because he said, "I know nothing." That's what he said. He's like, I know nothing. And one of his big things is know thyself. You really need to try to understand yourself. What really is important to you? What is your mission? What is your vision? What is your values? Because there's so many people that never really identified what is their mission in life, what is their purpose, what is their values, what do they believe in, what do they stand for, what's important to them, what are their principles. And this is so sad because that is what should guide everything you do in life. Is your mission, vision, and values should guide every decision, every endeavor, every relationship that you do. And again, for me, it is so important that I share that with you because I know what I'm here for, what my purpose is. I know what's important to me. I know where my moral compass is, and it is on true north. Now, again, I am far from perfect. I have a lot of shit that I need to work on, but I know that. And to me, that makes me feel good that I know that I'm not a perfect person. I'm in a perfect place, that I'm a work in progress. But I'm going to tell you what, I try to help as many people as humanly possible. It doesn't even matter the full details, but I could tell you this. There's a reason why me and my wife started Help Because You Can. We've given over the years over $1 million to charities. Now that might seem like a little bit to some people, might seem like a lot to other people. I don't know what it is, but I know I've given that in cash and money. Like that's a lot. We have our own foundation where we try to help as many different people as we humanly can. I do that not only with money, not only with volunteering, not only with championing other people's causes. I do it every day in my core competency of my career. That's what we do. We help people in our industry and out of the automotive industry do more, be more, and achieve more. It's not just making more money, folks. The whole concept of the Millionaire Car Salesman, and the Millionaire Car Salesman podcast isn't just making $1 million or millions of dollars. Millionaire, to me, is a mindset. It's a belief. It's a culture. It's an action. What does that mean? It means that, if I'm a millionaire, I've got freedom. I got freedom to choose. Here's what being a millionaire to me is. I could turn around and pull my kids out of school because I can. I could have one of my video production employees and my 2 sons and my nephew, and we could jump on a fucking airplane to go to Texas to go to South by Southwest conference for video games. That's some gangster shit. Okay, I can do that because I could afford to. If I had a regular job and I worked for somebody, even if I was wealthy and I worked for somebody, I might not be able to just at the spur of the moment take my 2 sons and my nephew and a video production videographer out, jump on an airplane from Philadelphia to Texas to go to a video game conference while my professional videographer is videotaping the entire event for memento purposes. That's some gangster shit, yo. And I'm sure there's other ways to ball hard, but I'm just giving you one example. I can't, if I find that, a family just lost their home in a fire, I can't turn around and just, give them $10,000 to try to restart some of their life and buy some of their possessions back or whatever, because if I didn't have that money. See, when people say that money isn't everything, I agree, but money is a lot. Do you understand what I'm saying? Money makes the world go round. And if you have money, you have a lot of options that you can, call upon. Because I'm telling you right now, if you're broke but you've got a good heart, that's great. Hugs and kisses will get you so far. Prayers will get you so far. Money is what makes the world go around. That doesn't mean you've got to be shady or unethical or mean or be a fucking scumbag about it. Here's the reality. If you were a dick before you had money, you're going to be just a bigger dick, when you get money. But if you're a good person before you had money, you're going to be a good person when you have money. You're just going to be able to do better, nicer, cooler things with it. So again, it's just really important that I'm just kind of sharing some stuff with you guys and what drives my manic mind, forward. And I hope you have a better insight into my thoughts. But I work hard because I want I want to experience everything I possibly can. Here's the other thing. I believe in experiencing life through the front row, okay? And what that means to me is that when I go to concerts, almost always I'm in the first row or in the VIP section, or I do meet and greets. Why? Because you only have one shot at the life. And again, if you've got the money, then fine. If you don't, I understand that if you don't have the money. But why do I work so hard? So I could experience things. Plus, no kidding, I'm 5'5". I'm kind of short. I don't want to be in the fucking bleachers. I don't want to be in the back of the floor. You know what I mean? And I can't see over somebody's head. I want to be. I want to experience so much diversity, so much culture, so much as I can. I want to experience as much of everything as I possibly can, but I want to experience the best and the finest things in the best possible way. And guess what? That shit takes money. So yes, I am on a mission to make hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, and God willing, if I could become a billionaire, I would love to be able to. But my number right now isn't a B. My number right now that I'm focused on, I'm only 43 years old, and I think that I could achieve this in the near futures. I want over $100 million. That's my goal that I'm going for, is $100 million. $100 million. See, I'm speaking it into the universe. I'm writing it down. $100 million. Now, in closing, because I know this is kind of me jumping from here, here, and here, but welcome to my ADD mind. What I would say is this, okay? I believe in a vision board. Okay, this has to do with the laws of attraction and manifestation. So I believe in a vision board. If you don't know what it is, fucking Google vision board or watch The Secret on Netflix or read the book. But get a vision board. Write out your goals, especially your financial goals. Write it down. If you go to thesecret.tv, you could actually, create a dummy check to yourself. So Sean Bradley, $100 million, write yourself a check. And a lot of celebrities have done this. So just Google, The Secret or YouTube The Secret, and you'll be shocked. All these people like Will Smith, Conor McGregor, John Jones, Steve Harvey, Oprah Winfrey, Jim Carrey, Denzel Washington, so many celebrities and athletes and, successful people really, really believe in The Secret. So step one is get a vision board, okay? Get a vision board, write down your goals. That's the first step that I want you to do. Second thing is develop a plan on how you're going to achieve those things. Reverse engineer. If you want to become a subject matter expert in this, reverse engineer, how are you going to do that? If you want to buy, a rental property, okay, how are you going to do that? How much money are you going to need? Boom, 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 reverse engineer. And if you don't know the answer to those questions, then you better start doing research and stop making fucking excuses, okay? Let me just tell you something. Ryan's Toys, there's a little boy named Ryan who is 8 years old. In 2020, the kid is 8 years old, and in the last 3 years, he made $59 million. He made $26 million in 2019 at age 8. He made $22 million at age 7. And then he made $11 million at age 6. Okay, so if this kid can make $59 million reviewing toys on YouTube, you can figure this shit out. If that's not enough, Doug the Pug. Google Doug the Pug. He's got 3.8 million followers on Instagram. He was just in the 2020 Super Bowl commercial with the Chiefs versus the 49ers, and he's living the life that you all wish that you would live. The dog makes almost $500,000. He's all with all these different celebrities and shit like that. Doug the Pug is living the life that you wish you had. Then in our industry, we have like the GOAT, Ali Reda. Ali Reda has, sold 32 cars January 2nd, 2020. 32 cars in one day. 202 cars December 2018. In 1 month, actually in 18 days, he sold 202 cars. And in 2017, he sold 1,582 units. Insane. So if these things are possible, then it is possible for you to go to Google and YouTube and hell, the rest of the Millionaire Car Salesman podcast, the Millionaire podcast, in general, the Google, YouTube, the Millionaire Car Salesman Facebook group, Dealer Synergy, Brother Demand, whatever, get the information. So again, after you've created a vision board and identified your goals, you need to reverse engineer how you're going to get there. If you don't know how you're going to get there, you need to research and figure it the fuck out. FITFO, FITFO. Figure it the fuck out. And if you're prude, I'm sorry, then figure it the fudge out. But whatever, you need to figure it the something out, right? The other thing I was going to say is try to find mentors and coaches. I've had different ones over the years. And I'm going to tell you, let's talk about Kobe Bryant for a second here. If you think about Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan, these are super athletes, right? They've got coaches for the basketball team. Then they've got life coaches. They've got financial coaches. They've got physical, coaches for they've got gym, like people that are going to coach you for cardio, people that are going to coach you for, your nutrition, and they have a myriad of different types of coaches. Let's just use just one thing. Let's just think of mixed martial arts. If you're a mixed martial arts in the UFC or MMA, right, you might have a striking coach, a Muay Thai coach. You might have a jiu-jitsu coach. You might have a wrestling coach. You might have a judo coach. You see what I'm saying? You have multiple coaches. You don't need just one. You're not violating some stupid form of loyalty by only having one mentor or one coach. Have as many as you can, but you need to surround yourself with people that are going to help you level up. It's very important. You need to find yourself with people that are where you want to be or on the same trajectory as you. Remember what I said to you earlier about what I learned in prison? People, places, and things. If you want to be successful, if you want to be rich, if you want to be a millionaire, multimillionaire, you've got to turn around and stop, hanging out with the same people you've been hanging out that are doing nothing and going nowhere, or complaining and bitching. Stop and who the dead weights that are around you. Change the people that you're around, okay? Change the places that you go, the places that you hang out, the places that you've been, currently going, because it hasn't made you a millionaire yet, right? And then change the things that you do, the activities. Stop binge watching Netflix. Stop having excess of this. Stop going out partying and drinking. Stop doing shit that's not going to elevate you. And remember, if you want the things that the average person doesn't have, you've got to be willing to do the things that the average person isn't willing to do, legally, ethically, and morally speaking. And for the love of God, be careful of distractions disguised as opportunities. Yeah, this is Sean V. Bradley, CSP, and I'm here to help. Holler at me. My cell phone number is 267-319-6776. You could find me in the Millionaire Car Salesman Facebook group. You could, at me on Instagram, Sean V. Bradley. At me on Twitter, Sean V. Bradley. You could at me on Facebook, follow me on Facebook, Sean V. Bradley on Facebook, which is separate to the Millionaire Car Salesman group. And my YouTube channel, subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is Sean V. Bradley TV. I hope you got some value out of this. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you like it, you love it, you want more of it, then don't wait for the next money show. Just go to BradleyOnDemand.com and take your career to the next level.